All right, you guys, we managed to get the recording going. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Courtney Mericle, and my husband and I have owned a gym for 16 years. So we do a lot of performance training and nutrition and all of the things. And so we're just going to share a little bit about our journey with peptides. And then also our friend Rachel is going to share. She's got a little bit longer, slightly different journey than we do. So before we jump into the stories, I know for me, I had like heard about peptides, but I didn't really know what they were, right? And I am not the science guy. Brandon is the science guy. So you have science questions, you send them to Brandon because he's the science guy. So I like to learn things like a fifth grader when it comes to science. So I had heard about peptides, and actually Rachel had reached out to me and said, "Hey, have you, are you doing anything with this? I know you're an athlete and you're super active, and I think these could really support you." And I was like, "Yeah." I had a buddy who had reached out years ago. My mom was having some stuff, and he had actually reached out to me about BPC 157 and TB 500. And at that point, he sent me this link, and it was this weird, like, gray market, seemed super sketchy. And I was like, well, those look cool, but I don't know that I want to put something on my body that says like research grade, not for human or animal consumption. And I just couldn't find any information, right? So I didn't really know what they were, but I'd heard about them. Okay. So I just want to kind of explain. I like this analogy of if you think about if your body as one giant Lego land, right? And peptides are essentially these smaller little building blocks of Legos, right? So they're made up of tiny, like smaller blocks. So their amino acids are smaller blocks than if you were to have a full protein. Okay. So essentially what they do is they signal your body. It's like getting a text message that says, hey, you need to go like, grow more hair, fix your skin, stay healthy, right? That sends text messages to your body. The problem is that as we get older, and unfortunately we're all getting older every day, we start getting less and less text messages, right? Or the text message gets sent, but it doesn't quite get there the way that it should, right? And so, what therapeutic peptides are, so most of what we're talking about is injectable. There are some that are oral, but most are injectable because then this gets right into your body. It starts turning on those signals, and your body is able to respond and do what it's naturally supposed to do. Okay. And so for me, that was a big deal. Like, yes, we do supplements. Yes, we eat really well. We exercise really well. But the fact that it was cueing our bodies to do what it needed to was kind of what got me. Okay. So I'll share a little bit of my story. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the comments and we'll get to those at the end. But for me, I need to make sure nobody else is in the waiting room. Sorry. So for me, I started peptides 8 weeks ago, 8.5 weeks ago. So again, Rachel and I, like Rachel reached out to me for months, and I wish I would have listened because so I keep saying I had plantar fasciitis, but I don't know if I actually had plantar fasciitis or I like had an actual injury to my foot because I started playing soccer again last week and I was talking to my friend and she was like, I don't think plantar fasciitis, you actually like feel it give. And I did feel it like let go during a soccer game. So anyway, I was having foot problems, and so finally talked to her. And so I got on BPC 157, which stands for Body Protective Compound. And then it's coupled with TB 500. Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little freaked out about the needle thing, and I was like, I don't know. And it's so funny because the needle's like this big, but I really was kind of a like basket case when I did my first one. I was like, I don't know, this is weird, and then like whatever. So I started on it 8 weeks ago. Essentially, you start on an 8 week cycle. So I just finished mine on Friday. I was still training, right? I was still working out every day, but I couldn't jump, I couldn't run, I couldn't do any of that stuff. And like, it's one thing to not be able to do that stuff for a while, but what starts to happen to me and what I think is the bigger deal as we age, especially as athletes, is that I couldn't do the simple things. I couldn't play with my kids during soccer, at halftime. I couldn't run for a ball. I couldn't like we train like youth kids and I couldn't run to them where we were going. And it was starting to like really get to me mentally and emotionally, not just physically. So when I started that, I would say I was probably 2 weeks in and I felt a big difference, but I was still really nervous because I'd had this before and I rested it. And then I, like, as soon as I went back, I hurt it again. So I waited until last week. So 7 weeks in to actually get back on the soccer field. 2 weeks before that, I started running and I would run and have no pain. And it was incredible. So for me, it completely healed my foot, right? But the things that I didn't realize that were going to happen was it also like BPC is made in your gut. So it also helped heal my gut, which I eat really well. Like I eat pretty clean because almost everything makes my stomach hurt. So I'm a pretty clean eater. And I have been amazed at like the lack of like stomach discomfort at all, right? So my gut clearly needed some healing, even though I didn't know that it did. So for us, as we started, looking into peptides, this was what we started with. I'm super excited, and we'll talk about some other peptides as we go. But if you're having struggles with recovery, with injury, honestly, if you're over 30 and you're an athlete, you should probably be on BBC 157 and TB 500 because just recovery is so much better. So that was kind of my story. I'll pass it to Brandon, who is my husband, who is the slower adapter of us when it comes to these things. We've done other things in the past that I jump right in and he waits to see how it goes. So, babe, I will pass it to you and you can share your story.
Perfect. I always appreciate how you highlight my sense to jump on board with the things that you do.
Hey,
Um,
you did a video about it. It was like, I should have listened. It would have been better if I'd done it earlier.
yes. So if you know anything about me or have followed along, I've been basically documenting almost daily kind of my journey with peptides. So come full circle on this. So the reason why my wife says this is because I tend to be more apprehensive with certain things. We've owned a fitness and training facility for 16 years. And the second you open up, especially in the gym industry, you get bombarded with everyone that has the greatest thing that has ever been created. And usually with that is it's coupled up with a lot of snake venom that is supposed to cure the world, and it usually does nothing but causes more problems. And so, kind of echoing what Court said is, she got reached out to. We've had other friends that have reached out regarding peptides and everything else, but again, they were more black market, more of the I don't really trust where that's coming from, let alone actually putting that in my body type of thing. And so, again, I'll call it a slow adapter, but I'm a little bit more of pumping the brakes of doing research and kind of figuring out, is this something that I feel is valid and is something that I want to use. There's one thing that I try to do is, especially as a coach, if I'm going to be recommending certain things to the people and the clients that I work with, I try to do, whether it's a nutritional thing or whether it's doing peptides, is be able to test them myself and actually get a firsthand experience of what they do and how they interact. I guess it was divine intervention of a constant injury that was going on for over 2 months that was just causing complete agony and affecting me the same as it was core of more than just the physical. It was really starting to affect me mentally, emotionally. It was starting to affect my identity. I'm 42 now. One of my biggest fears is being that dad that is stuck on the sidelines and want to play with my kids at halftime, but I'm not able to because I'm in fear that I'm going to blow my Achilles or my hamstring or whatever else might be. So that is a ongoing fear of mine. And so for the last 2.5 months, actually more than that, I broke my heel prior to this. Well, that's another story. But for the last about 2.5 months, I haven't been able to really play with our kids during halftime or go out and play, or like Court said, when we're working with our teams that we work with, be able to really um, basically show them and model the movements that we're trying to do, but let alone just go do the things that I would assume would be kind of just a low barrier, all of a sudden have been a big obstacle for me. So watching Court, it was really one of the things that intrigued me is watching her go through this and see how she was able to adapt and able to get the benefits of what she was taking. And, she lovingly harped on me of, what, I'm feeling these things. I'm feeling so much better. I'm able to go play. You should really try this. And so finally, I think I got to my threshold of like, what, I'm tired of this. Fine, I'll listen to you. I'll at least give it a shot. And so, I'm entering my 4th week starting tomorrow. And I can tell you, again, I made a video on this. So if you've seen any of my feeds, I basically have to admit that I wish I would have listened to my wife earlier. That I wish I would have started earlier just because 3 weeks ago, we're putting out a new program. So I've been doing a lot of demo videos of a lot of different exercises and things that I know a month and a half ago tomorrow I wouldn't be able to walk because my foot would have hurt so bad. And so even this last week, I've been able to do that. I've been able to start running a little bit without the apprehension, a lot without the discomfort, and just starting to feel more like myself. It's been really interesting of seeing, just the fact that, again, of all the things that get kind of advertised, they've been around for a long time. Honestly, one of the big things that really helped me kind of sway myself over to trying them was not only just my wife's feedback, but I also listened to a podcast by Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's had several podcasts where he interviews some of the most world-renowned people in this field, and he gives both the pros and the cons, but also knowing that where Court was getting them from was actually high grade, and we were actually working with a physician that was going to be directing everything and not just kind of throwing stuff on the wall and hoping that it wasn't going to be anything that was going to be adverse effects to it, but also on the side that it was going to be valid, that what was in the vial that was coming with it was actually there. Because again, you get into the black market of these things, it's essentially no different than the supplement industry of you get the wild west of things that could be said it's on the bottle. It may not be there, and it can be contaminated with who knows what else is on there of what the things you could be actually putting into your body. So the fact that it was coming from a high grade and valid source was also a big thing that kind of swayed me over into, I'll give this a shot. But I can tell you, again, 3 weeks down, and honestly, I wish I would have done it earlier.
Thanks, honey. Just going to keep playing that back. I should have listened to my wife. I should. No, but thank you for bringing up. I talked about the gray market and then forgot to go back to why we actually did this, because yeah, it is, there are, we know where it's coming from. It's a 503 pharmacy. It's got doctors behind it, right? That was a big deal for us. And I will say to you guys, we have another friend who isn't on the call tonight, but she started the same peptides we did. And she's on our soccer team, and she's like, get Brandon to take these. We need him back. So he wasn't just being harassed by me. There was multiple peer pressure of like, we're feeling really good. You should do this. So thank you, babe. All right, guys, from here, I'm going to introduce my friend Rachel. Rachel has a little bit longer, different journey. So Rachel, would you like to share your story with us?
So just so you know, I recorded Brandon saying that, and I've got it like on a loop, and then I'll send it to you after this.
This is what friends are for, you guys.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
My name is Rachel. I actually live in Northwest Wisconsin, and met Courtney really online through just online stuff, and we got connected through health. I have been in health and wellness since I've been 18. I went to college for that, and have just been interested really because I was interested for myself. I went to college not knowing what I wanted to do, but I knew that I loved to exercise, and I knew I loved to I just loved the whole concept of mind, body, spirit, like taking care of yourself. And so that's what I got a degree in. And fast forward many years from college, I have still been in this industry and absolutely love it. But along with my health, like my health has changed. And so without going over all of that I've done up to here, I want to talk about just the peptides. Except that, of course, my dog starts running when I get on a Zoom, just like a child. So she's chasing a ball. Sorry about that. So in the end of December 2023, I started researching the GLP-1, and I have been working with clients and working with people on their lifestyle, their exercise, how they're eating, and how they're just feeling good. For me, focus has always been on how I feel, intuitive eating, moving, all that type of stuff. But something was happening inside of my body. I went through a lot of stress, a lot of trauma. I went through a lot of changes in my life. And all of a sudden, everything that I had been doing and that I would coach other people to do wasn't working for my own self. And, it's one thing when it's not working for another person. They're like, I just don't get it. I can't, I'm doing these things. I can't lose weight. And I'm like, oh, but then when that happens to me, no. So really got angry about that. And but I'm a researcher too. I just dug into it, tried to determine what was going on. Long story short, I'm not going to go into all the different ailments happening inside of me and a lot of hormone changes and stuff, but A year after that, I decided to start the GLP-1 because I had it. I did all the supplements, functional medicine. I was still working out. I was in more pain, more fatigued, stomach hurting. I could barely eat. And I was trying to do all the right things. So finally, I'd gotten to the end of my road and said, this is it. I'm going to, I gained like 30 pounds doing nothing differently, started my GLP-1 secretly, not secretly because I was ashamed, but because I like to put things to the test, like Brandon said, before I say anything about it, before I, really, share it with other people. I wanted to have an experience. I wanted to know what I would experience so that I could pass it along to others or not pass it along to others, but just know what was going to happen. And immediately my stomach stopped hurting as much. I've always had a hard time eating. I have always had a bad gut. I take all of the products that you're supposed to take. I eat pretty well. My boyfriend said into it after a week, you're not complaining about your stomach. I'm sorry, but when I'm not complaining about my stomach, it's a big day. It's like celebration day. Let's pop some champagne because I am always complaining about how food hurts my stomach. And it has gotten so much better. And I think you hear a lot of the opposite when you think about GLP-1. I'm specifically on tirzepatide. And I was amazed by that. Did not expect it. And I did lose weight. I lost 35 pounds in 6 months. So 1 to 2 pounds a week, which was exactly what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see any more because I know that's a healthy rate of weight loss. And from there, the way that I went into it, guys, was I wanted to get myself back on my feet because I had come from probably the best fitness level I've ever been at and the healthiest I've ever been until I went through all of these things and I couldn't see a way out. So now I use that as a tool to get myself back in the gym, back feeling strong again, feeling like I can even walk again. I was pretty much bedridden at that time. But what happened was I then got into the world of peptides because of the GLP-1. It's the gateway drug, we like to say, because once you open yourself up to that, you start seeing all these other things. This is just one of the many incredible peptides that are there. It's like a hormone replacement because GLP-1 is a hormone peptide. Same type of thing. You're replacing the peptides that you have lost communication with inside of your body. And that science, once I understood it, made me so excited because all I've ever been trying to do my whole life is communicate with my body and say, get your shit together. And it's like all of a sudden I have the tools to do this. So I started on BPC 157 myself because of my gut, but also not really realizing that it works on nerves and works on nerve pain. And I actually have bladder pain syndrome, which is essentially has been identified as a nerve and a nervous system issue. And within a couple of days of starting the BPC, again, I'm not complaining about going into a bladder flare. And that is when the tears of joy started falling. I was like, this can't be real. So I will tell you, I did a cycle of BPC injections. And that is when I really realized it was reducing my flares from almost every other day being in pain and having to take over-counter drugs, which I absolutely hate, to like once a month. I phased off of the BPC. So now you guys can get this experience that I wanted to see, because a lot of times when you take it away, did it work? When I took it away, I had a really bad month. And so unfortunately, I realized, okay, I'm not quite healed yet, but at the same time, fortunately, I could feel how it helped. So then I went back on BPC, the capsules, because they say the capsules are the better option for anything gut related, because it is going right down into your gut and doing its work. So I tried the capsules. That's what I'm using right now. I am about 7 weeks in, probably within a day. recognized the benefits again. My flares completely reducing. Now I still have them. So it's not perfect, but I would say anyone who has this syndrome, it is extremely, it really ruins your quality of life, extremely painful. It's hard to talk about because you're talking about your bladder and going pee, and it's awful. It's like awful for someone to have to experience and go through and research, and there's no help, and it's just like one of those unknown things like fibromyalgia and all these different autoimmunes. Nobody really knows what to do about it. And feeling that hopelessness is something I've never felt before, and it has given me a lot more empathy for people too in this position. But now I feel like I have an answer for them. So that's my BPC experience. Just to give you one more peptide, I am using the GHKCU, which is for skin and hair and just growth of those tissues. And I'm loving that too, because with the different issues that I went through, I did lose a lot of hair. And so that is kind of the goal that I'm working on, is I'm going to do a cycle of that, go off, and then maybe, you know, a couple months from now, do it again and see if within this year I can, you know, get that to be better for me. I do use a few other things that aren't considered peptides, NAD, glutathione, absolutely love those too, and I can answer any questions about those, but peptides actually work with each other. They're like friends. When they get into the body together, they're like, hey, what's up? You remember me? I remember you. Like, let's go. Let's hang out together. So don't think that you can't use more, because as you compile more, they actually communicate more. And that's when it really gets awesome. Like it really starts to feel like your youth is coming back and the old you is coming back. So that's my story so far, a year into peptides.
Thank you. I love it. Yeah. And that's the cool thing, you guys. I mean, I think that for me was when I'm much like Rachel. I mean, we're all researchers, and I started just listening and diving in and hearing all the stuff. And I was like, I need them all, right? I was like, I need GHKCU, right? Like my hair it's never been thick. And again, as I get older, yeah. So there's so many. And I think for so many of us too, like NAD is a big one. I mean, it's essentially like the energy builder in your cells. And I know that, you know, what I'm starting to hear. So I am 48, is just so many people our age are like, oh, I'm just getting old. And that is like my pet peeve. I'm like, do not say that. Like, do not say that you're getting old, because like, we're only going to live to 100. 48 better not be old. But there are certain things that don't feel like they used to. And it's like, if you can get in there and start to get those things to turn back on naturally and feel more like you did, it's amazing, right? If it's, you know, what I hear from a lot of people at this age is like, I just don't feel like I did. I don't recover the same. I can't, you know, I don't have the energy I had. I need a nap all the time. There's things going on in your body that you can use peptides to help with, right? And again, it's not a magic switch. You have to still be doing all of the other things. You still need to be moving. You still need to be watching your nutrition. But if you can use these as a tool to start to help you feel better and feel more like yourself, if you're going through perimenopause or menopause, you know, or just aging in general, there's just such a cool different ways and different things. And there's no perfect protocol for anybody, but it's, you know, what are, like, we always tell people, like, start with like the 3 biggest complaints you have, if you will, and then look at those and go, okay, well, maybe where should I start? What do I want to research? What do I want to know more? So that's a little bit of our story. So like we said, we have all partnered with a telehealth company called LEMD. I am in love with this company. I watched a friend of mine start this a year ago, and it was a pretty brand new. She didn't start the company, but she jumped on, and I've seen her journey. It's been incredible. And like I said, that was the big piece for me, was that if I was going to get it from somewhere, I wanted to know that it was a reliable source, that I had a doctor if I had questions, if I freaked out about my first injection, if something was feeling off, that I could always have somebody to go to. And then I knew what I was ordering was actually in the vial, right? And so that's been the other piece for me, was if I'm going to talk about peptides, which obviously we have been, because it's been like game changing, I want to make sure that people can get them from a good source, because yes, you can get them cheaper. Absolutely, you can. You can get gray market peptides, you can get black market peptides and have no idea what's in them, and have some, you know, really, really bad side effects, and, you know, feel like a lab rat. And that's not what we want you guys to do. I personally believe peptides are going to go crazy in the next few years, and you really want to make sure that you're getting them from a good source. So you know, after you watch this recording, get back with the person that invited you. They can help answer questions for you. They can get you to LEMD so you can start to look at the products. Once you know, if there's something you decide you want, you do have to do a health survey. There are questions, right? Like I had a buddy who was super excited about BPC, but he'd had some stuff in his health history that he actually could take BPC, but he couldn't take TB 500, and they turned him down, right? And to me, like that sucks for him because he really was like, I want to get out of, you know, I want my hip to feel better. But in the same sense, I think it's really important to know that like you do have doctors paying attention to what's going on so that you're not going to do something that could have any negative side effects. So yeah, that's kind of what we have. So get with the person who, you know, sent you this recording. They can help answer questions and kind of get you pointed along in the right direction. So anything else? No? All right, you guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you guys soon.